got 3 emotional support drinks, iced coffee, a glass of peppermint tea, and water. Stay hydrated, folks. I also want to start this off by saying any of this is uneven. I'm sorry. I've tried forever. Hello. Welcome to my channel. I am Willow Bolton, and today we are... Actually, don't do that. Today, we're going to be doing a new series on this channel, on this home. We are going to be doing Showtank. I bet you guys are like, what is Showtank? What does that entail? If you're familiar with the show Shark Tank, essentially, people come on the show to showcase a product or something and try to get the sharks who are kind of like millionaires and stuff like that to invest in their product. But today, I'm going to be doing a show that I'm invested in to get y'all to invest in it. Because if you think about it, we're like all-time millionaires when we're young, right? Okay, essentially I came up with this idea because I have a deep fascination for like storytelling. A lot of my friends are sick and tired of hearing me talk about that. So this is me trying to get other people to watch the TV I like so that I can talk about it with everybody online. Yeah! And also, I think like good TV has so much value for so many people's lives. I feel like there's so many good lessons. You've watched some anime, you've watched some movie, you watched some show and came out and was like, that changed my life. I know there's some cinephiles out there on YouTube that might be watching this, or maybe storyteller files. I guarantee I have a good opinion on shows because I like storytelling a lot and I've taken one class on it. Sharks, I am asking for a 0.05% investment, time investment, into the show Community. And by that I mean, I hope you dedicate your time to at least watching 5 episodes of Community. Okay, they're 20 minutes long. Hear me out. I think by episode 3, I can get you hooked, but we're gonna say at least 5 episodes. At least 5 episodes in. Which is a steal, by the way. All I'm asking is for 5 episodes. Honestly, just asking for 3. I think that's how early Community shows its potential. So, I like to call this part of the section spoiler-free deep dive. Alright, let's meet main character, Jeffrey Tobias Winger. You might think this picture is different from the other pictures I will have on this board. That's because it is, and I chose this picture in particular, and that will come up later. Don't stress about it now. That will come up later. But for now, let's put Jeffrey up here. Jeffrey Tobias Winger. What can we know about him? He is the main character of the story, but there's also basically 6 main characters, and we're going to talk about every single one of them, so get over it. Okay, get over it. Jeffrey is like the main character. Number one thing you need to know about Jeffrey Winger is that he is a lawyer.
I was a lawyer.
And by lawyer, I mean mass manipulator. So get this. He was a lawyer for 6 years until someone at his law firm sold him out by exposing the fact that his bachelor's degree was fake. He apparently bought it from Columbia Mill place. That's it. I don't know, like a place that produces fake degrees. Apparently that was the thing. Anyways, so he gets fired from his law firm. You don't have a bachelor's degree. We can't have you here. That's just, you lied to us. At least I'm not a big fat liar.
Maybe. But at least I'm not a big fat liar.
He goes to Greendale Community College to get his undergrad. And the reason he has chosen Greendale is because he has a friend who works there. New character alert. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Who is John Oliver? It's random, but he's here and he's important. He plays Ian Duncan in this show. And now we will pin him on the board. I have 2 pictures. I also have this picture of him that says pick me. I don't know if it's going to go on the board yet, but I thought it was funny. So now we got Ian. Let me get my pointer. Yes, my pointer is a cat toy. I have no other pointers. No other pointers for this video or pointers in life because I'm juggling myself. That was a bad joke, so sorry. Ian. I don't know if I mentioned this. He is a professor at this college, so that is why he has chosen to go here. Jeffrey has helped Ian with a court case, because he's a lawyer, and so that's also why he came here. Yeah, he's like, hey, You remember that one time, I basically saved your ass in court? Basically, like, blackmailing him. He's like, yeah, so I'm gonna need you to give me every single answer for every single test I take for the next 4 years.
Yes, and I'm hoping that our friendship will yield certain advantages. You know, academic guidance, yes, moral support, every answer to every test for...
Crazy. Mass manipulator. He's not someone to mess with. I will talk about his character for just a second. Ian is kind of an enigma. I can't say that. Ian is kind of an enigma. He's there sometimes, he's sometimes not. Is sometimes important to the plot. But, like, essentially, I just think it boils down to the fact that he's John Oliver, and he's just got other shit to do. So that's why he is just sometimes there, sometimes not. He actually sticks throughout the whole show, but he's got a lot of cool, like, one-liners or whatever in episodes. You know what I'm trying to say. He's got a lot of cool scenes. In the beginning, the pilot actually starts. You are going to meet two of my favorite characters. Da 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 da. We have the one and only. I'm sorry he doesn't have a big photo, but he's not a main character, so he doesn't get a big photo. Craig Pelton. Dean Pelton. The Dean. He is one of my all-time favorite characters ever. I love his character so much. He's just so funny to me. Let's put him on the board. Let's put him on the board. Where's he gonna go? Maybe up here? I'm gonna put him up here. Why not? So we got him here now. Now, I want to include this photo of him. It's him with fake eyelashes on and makeup. I don't remember this at all in the show. Actually, it probably was the show. He wears a lot of stuff in the show. I think it's funny. He's just such a character, such an icon. So let's put, because this is important. This is important information. Just sticking up at me. It's like he'll be like watching over me. Yeah, like that. So Dean Pelton. He is not a main character of the show, like I mentioned before, but he's very important to the plot. I like to see him as like an instigator. He kind of like gives the crew stuff to do continuously. He kind of just pops up and goes, by the way, this is happening. He's like an information giver kind of, but I love this about him, and he does it in the best ways possible. And he wants to be included as well. But he also is just, he's a dean who cares about his school. That's what you need to know. Love you, Dean. Sweet Deans. Now we're going to move on to the next character that you will meet in this sequence. Kind of. Some people might diss on my order, but I like to introduce characters in this way because I feel like this is how okay, anyways, I'm getting convoluted. Next we have the love of my life, Abed. Love him. So, Abed is special in a lot of different ways. But let's go ahead and throw him up here. We're gonna just put him here for now. Abed Nadir. I think I said that right. What you need to know about Abed. He's very beloved in the fandom. He is curious. He's very direct. He is a trope-loving pop culture enthusiast. Connoisseur, if you will. He watches a lot of TV and a lot of film. Cinephiles, I'm looking at you. He is one of you. If he is not one of you, he is the cinephile, actually. And at one point, Jesus. But anyway, he is really an element to the show that's silly. Silly and also heartwarming. He is constantly trying to get the fam into sitcom tropes and little shenanigans and adventures because this is what he loves. He thinks life is TV. It's also like speculated that he is on the spectrum. And they kind of touch on that in the show, too, some. So, representation, important. I don't think Danny Putty is actually autistic, though, so I don't know if that's representation. Don't quote me on that, but love him so much. He has trouble understanding feelings as a whole, too, which is a whole thing. Just the most important thing you should know is that his quips and monologues throughout the show, his one-liners are amazing.
What's going on? Can you guys hear me? Am I deaf? Can you hear me talking right now? Yes? That's good.
Danny Putty does not miss. He brings a silly energy that is needed. Jeffrey and Abed meet first. There is a scene where Jeffrey is asking Abed about a certain girl. But we're going to move on, because we are going to talk about the scene where he talks to this girl. So we get a lunch scene where Jeffrey approaches none other than, new character alert, Britta Perry. She's a sensitive topic for me. I'll explain why. Well, let's just put her on the board first before we get into it, because it's going to be a doozy. To those of you who have seen Community and are only watching this for your own personal enjoyment, before you go in my comments and you try to say anything negative about Britta, I will find your house and I'm just kidding. I do love, actually, embrace it. I love how she's set up in the beginning, because to me, Britta is like set up to be this like second protagonist, and she kind of like foils Jeffrey a little bit, and I love that. I'm a big fan of dual protagonists, but the show doesn't go down this route. But before I try to go down that rabbit hole, I won't. Britta's introduction is kind of giving off cool girl vibes.
Oh, hey, Spanish.
Yeah, don't hit on me, okay?
That's, sorry to say it, but that's Conti. Sorry, I'm here to focus on school. She's focused. But you see, this is where Jeffrey uses his math manipulation skills. All of a sudden, Jeff is bilingual. A Spanish tutor, if you will. He tells Britta that he's starting a Spanish study group. And he's like, hey, I see you're struggling with Spanish. Join my study group. I got you. And she's like, can you say that in Spanish? And then he says a bunch of random words in Spanish because he doesn't actually know Spanish, but she falls for it because she's bad at Spanish. And she's like, I really need help with this class. And he's like, I figured. Tells her about the study group and tells her to meet her in the library, where they will meet in a certain study group room. So we cut to the study room. Whew. I wonder if this study room is going to have any significance at all. The answer is yes. We're going to put this up on the board because this is so important. We're going to put this like here, because this is just truly where everything starts. You know what I'm saying? So I think this is important to put in the middle. So this is the moment where Jeff and Britta get a little more acquainted. And I will take this time to expand on Britta a little bit more, just because I didn't actually go over her personality traits. But before we do this, I have to discuss the elephant in the room, and that is the crime of what Jeffrey Tobias Winger is wearing. This needs to be held in a courtroom where he should stand trial, and he can't be his own lawyer with his mass manipulation skills. Jeffrey Winger's outfit, which I know you can't see the whole thing, you might think this looks fine. Unfortunately, it got cut off. He is wearing this collared shirt, sweater, and then suit jacket, right? Fine. But underneath, he is wearing sweatpants. Sweatpants. This outfit is a crime to my eyes, a crime to humanity, a crime to God, a crime to my spirit guides. What were they thinking? He's supposed to be like this hot guy. How am I supposed to think that's hot when he's wearing sweatpants with a suit jacket? It looks dumb. I hate it so much. The whole episode, I was like, you can't, like, they're all like, everyone's like kind of falling for him. I'm like, you can't tell me this guy is hot when he's wearing sweatpants and then a suit jacket. It doesn't look good. In honor of Jeffrey Winger, though, let's just say they do actually prove that he is sexy. Unfortunately, he is a hot man. He is actually sexy. So I will include this picture of him in a cowboy hat, because I think it's hot. And in honor of Jeffrey, I'm wearing sweatpants with my business attire, just to kind of honor what we have going on with him. This show's about him, and I'm trying to convince you to watch him. And so now I'm actually going to turn around and say he's a style icon. He's a trendsetter, because I'm doing it.
And take those off.
Because they make me look good.
That's not relevant.
Ah, welcome back, Jeffrey. How was your... Oh my God, even his shadow. Look at his shadow!
So, Britta, who's giving very much like cool girl vibes in this episode, is actually not very cool girl. She is an activist, which is, do not get me wrong, that is one of the many things I love about her. She's just constantly misinformed. She's just constantly trying to like shove moral righteousness down everybody's throats. I hate it a little bit. I understand where Dan Harmon tries to go with some of these characters. He wants them to have their good things and their bad things, and maybe he tries to make their bad things actually one of their good things if you look a little closer. But like, I just hate what they end up doing with her in the show. Really, how they fail her character. It's one of my Roman vampires, truly. She has like a huge scope of the world, like in her head, empathetically. Like, she has such a huge heart, but they just don't do anything with it, and that makes me really upset. So much more could have been done with her character, in my eyes. But anyways, Community is still very much worth the watch, regardless of like the fact that, in my opinion, she has failed. I still very much love the show and love rewatching it. Just because one character is semi-failed doesn't mean the rest of them are. I still think the show is very good. And honestly, She's perfect in season 1 and 2. I think she's great. But we're not here to talk about all that, so we'll move on. Let's set the scene again. So Jeff and Britta are in the study room, right? And they are getting acquainted, but then in walks in Abed.
Abed in the house. Woo!
Woo! Why?
Jeffrey's like, well, hey man, what are you doing here? Like, can't you see I'm trying to... Britta obviously catches on to this. There's this really funny scene. Abed gets a text from Jeff telling him, hey, say you need to go pee. I need to talk to you. And Abed, when he gets the text message, reads it out loud. Jeff's like, oh, don't do that. Let's not, maybe that text message is only for your eyes. And he's like, whoa, it says, say I need to go pee. And they need to talk to me. What does that mean? As soon as that happens, Jeffrey gets the text from Ian telling him to meet him on the field. And then Abed goes,
Does it say you have to pee?
I just think that's so funny. And if you don't think that's funny, there's something wrong with you. Jeffrey goes to the football field where Duncan told him to meet. Duncan is trying to convince Jeffrey not to go along with this cheating scandal that he's wanting to pull. This could be bad. Don't you want to try to actually get a degree this time? Jeffrey's like, no. And then we also get this like iconic line. Let's let it play.
I discovered at a very early age that if I talk long enough, I could make anything right or wrong. So either I'm God or truth is relative.
He kind of spits bars a little bit. Now, yes, he's a mass manipulator, but man is a poet. Once Jeffrey comes back to the study room, that's whenever we meet the rest of the group.
Are you the board-certified tutor?
That means you do my homework, right, Seacrest?
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna throw him up here, a little picture of him. There you go. That's all of them right there, baby. And yeah, Donald Glover's in the show. Take that. I don't know who I'm referring to there. So let's go ahead, throw him up here. Nice. So, Crew's here. He comes back to a group of 6, ready to learn Spanish and be a part of the study group that Jeffrey has fabricated. Like he does a lot of things in the show. And Britta's not there. So he's kind of like, Britta's disappeared. Where is she? And no one knows where she went. So he's like, I'm gonna head out for a second. I'm just gonna use the bathroom. Takes his stuff and leave. But then on his way out, Britta thinks that he is just busting her for smoking. He kind of tries to convince her, like, hey, yeah, that group's untutorable. Like, let's just go get drinks instead.
And I was trained never to say this, but I think that group may be untutorable.
What he honestly started the study group for. And she's like, are they really untutorable? You know what? Let's try anyways. So they get back to the group, and then this is where we start to formally introduce everybody. I will go in order and how they talk in this scene. Now it's time to meet the actual worst person in the group, and that's a bit in the show and real life. None other than Pierce Hawthorne, played by Chevy Chase. And if you're wondering, this says he told me to kill myself, because that's something he would do. We're gonna put him, he's also right there. We're gonna just put him like here. Dean doesn't deserve that. Truly no one, maybe Duncan deserves it. We're gonna put him here. I have so much I could say about Pierce Hawthorne, but we're gonna keep it brief because I want you to actually watch the show. The most you need to know about him is that he has the same humor and beliefs as every boomer white person, like, ever. That's like his whole bit. He does bring some positive aspects to the show. He's older, so he brings like a little bit of wisdom because they all are young. And like, yes, just because you're old doesn't mean you're wise, but he does have some wisdom because he has experienced quite a bit of trauma in life. Not quite a bit. He is also rich. There's so much to unpack about Pierce Hawthorne, but we're not going to be here all day, so. I understand what Dan Harmon is trying to do with his character. I get it. I understand what he's there to add. He's kind of like an antagonist for the group, and that plays in a lot of different ways, and that's fun to watch. He brings a question into the show that you will be asking yourself throughout the whole thing, and we'll mention that later. And essentially, everyone in the group doesn't like him. Maybe, like, they don't like him. But anyways, we're gonna move on to another fan favorite in the show, and that is none other than Troy Barnes, none other than Childish Gambino, none other than Donald Glover, none other than that guy. Everybody knows Donald Glover. He's like one of those people that I just believe everybody knows. We're gonna put him here. We'll keep him center with Abed. I'm sorry if any of this is off center, but please have mercy on me. That's fine. It's fine. It's fine. He's basically like every high school football player that peaked in high school. He got into like an accident in school that made him hurt his leg. I don't know the exact story actually. Essentially, he was gonna go play football at a school, and then he ended up not. So now he's here at Greendale. But early on, you're gonna find out there is a lot more to Troy Barnes than meets the eye. He is also a part of a duo with Abed. I've separated them. How dare I? Their duo brings so much to the table when it comes to why you should watch Community. So much. They have so many iconic moments you have probably seen, you don't even realize it. He's very silly. He has like a whole, I'm not gonna, this is spoiler free. He is, I would say, one of the more smaller side characters in a group of main characters. He does put up a lot of screen time. I'll add, a lot of his stuff is improvised by Donald Glover. I saw this somewhere that like there would just literally be parts in the script that it would just say like Donald Glover says something funny. He is a great reason to watch Community. Up next, we have another great character. Her name is Shirley Bennett. There's a lot that could be said about Shirley Bennett. We'll put her here in the middle. I like that. Shirley Bennett is a divorced mom who is now going back to community college to get a business degree for baking. Literally look at her shirt. He is risen. And then it's a cross of loaves. It's really funny. She's got a lot of sass to her. She brings a lot to the table. Another really big component about Shirley is that she's really religious. Now, other groups here are not that religious. I would say like 65% of the time that is like a running gag in the show about her. It goes both ways. So if you're Christian, if you're religious, don't run off. Her kind of coming at them for, like, well, God's not gonna like that. It's quips back and forth, and I like this aspect of the show because it shows how unlikely these people are to be friends, but yet they still are. So now we're gonna move on to the last main character that we need to introduce, and that is the Annie Edison. We're gonna put Annie here. I don't want her to cover Donald too much. Annie Edison. She is one of the younger characters on the show. Her and Troy actually went to high school together, and that's discovered in the first episode. This comes up in conversation as they're all introducing each other, right? Well, Troy doesn't realize that he went to high school with Annie until he goes, "You're Annie Adderall." Yeah. So Annie's got a pill addiction. She went to rehab for it, and she's better now. And funny enough, throughout this whole thing, she studies to get a job in pharmaceuticals. Take that as you will. But Annie is very smart. She's a little uptight. She's a little pretentious, honestly. My favorite thing about Annie is that she gets very caught up in the moment a lot. I just think that part of her is kind of fun and cute. She's very dreamy sometimes and uses daydreaming as an escape a little bit. I wouldn't say that's prominent. That's just a psychoanalysis that I've made. But she is very much she commits to the bit way too hard. And I think that's so funny. Now this is where you see how manipulative Jeff Winger can get. After they've all formally introduced each other to the group, they've kind of said all their names and everything, this is where Jeffrey Winger takes the time to see all the wounds that he found and push into stab an open wound kind of deal. He sees that there's tension between Annie and Shirley, and that also Pierce keeps making unwanted advances towards Shirley. Troy kind of stands up for Shirley in a way, and that's kind of a whole thing, and they kind of all bicker at each other as he's poking at all these, because Britta's let's leave it alone, let's study. He's no.
Okay, why don't we try learning jukebox in Spanish?
What are you doing?
Pierce! Let's discuss this creepiness.
Pardon you?
What are you doing?
I'm certified.
Abed has a little moment where he does a Breakfast Club monologue. It's great. It's funny. It kind of eases his tension for a second. But then Jeffrey gets a text from none other than Duncan, and he's got to go take that. So he's okay guys, let me excuse myself, I'll be back. Jeffrey meets Duncan, and Duncan has all the answers to the test that he asked for.
Every answer to every test in your curriculum this semester.
In a package, duct tape for him. He's here you go, this is what you wanted, but if you want these, one condition. Duncan wants Jeffrey's Lexus. Jeffrey reluctantly does so. Now he has all the test answers. He comes back to the group who's still fighting. Britta comes out and says, "Hey, what the fuck have you done? They're in shambles. Can you fix this?" And he's like I said, untutorable. Let's go get dinner. You like Thai food? And she's unbelievable. You still want to get my pants? And you really think I want to go for that? Not gonna happen. And so she goes back into the study room. He follows her. And then we get our first ever Jeffrey Winger inspirational speech. That's a thing that happens a lot in the show, is Jeffrey Winger kind of talking to everybody, rallying them up. That's something I really enjoy about his character, is that he is definitely the reluctant hero. He never actually wants to do the good deed. He's very self-indulgent. He just wants to do what's best for him. But as you'll see, they will all kind of coerce him into doing the good things. He sometimes plays the villain, They all kind of play the villain sometimes. After he gives his inspiring speech, makes them all feel good about themselves and they all have calmed down, he's like, if you'll excuse me, I have dinner arrangements with Britta. And Britta's like,
I lied. Thanks for calming everyone down, but since you're not a Spanish tutor, just a lying creep who purposely upset everyone in an attempt to get with me, I'd appreciate it if you left and stopped wasting all of our time.
She's everything in this episode. He obviously is a little peeved off by that, a little annoyed, a little irritated. So he's like, fine, okay, you don't want to study with me? Well, being a liar gets you all the test answers to the test and shows that he like has a stack of test answers. And then he leaves. I'm going to stop talking about the pilot there because I think you would get more joy out of watching the resolution fold out on TV itself. I won't spoil anything like that for you. Next segment is why watch? Why watch? You watch, we all watch. So if my explanation didn't hook you, I do have to say, if you are a Rick and Morty fan, I have not personally seen the show yet, but I will at some point. If you are a Rick and Morty fan, this show is created by him. If that holds any meaning or value to you, great. I know the board looks different. I'm not going to take it down again. I have to record because it stopped recording because my phone battery is dying, so that's lovely. Really sorry if it seems like I'm rushing this part now. It's because this is the third time I've done this. But anyway, one of the main themes in this show is what is the worst thing you can say or do to somebody but still remain friends? I think that question kind of like encompasses this show as a whole. It's constantly tightroping this question of like, do you abandon someone from a group because it's healthier for you in the group, or is it healthier for you guys to stick together? Because once you create this divide, this question lingers of like, they got kicked out, who is next? Could potentially be next in the chopping block. If that is an outcome that can happen, it could be me next, which creates this weariness in the group. They go through a lot. They go through a lot together, and you will see all of their worst parts. That will be in 4K for you guys to see. But regardless of all the bad things that they showcase to one another, they still remain friends. They still end up forgiving each other, which I think is important, and I think is also really beautiful for a show called Community. The whole point of Community is solidarity with each other now. Learning that solidarity means sacrifice. This question is raised of like, when this line is crossed, like what happens next? However, there is this perfectly valid criticism of like, by just keeping this person in the group, are we enabling their bad behavior? Which is such a valid take to have, because do we want to valid toxicity in our friend groups? Yes, it's okay for you guys to be who you are no matter what, but that raises the question of how far can someone actually be? And you might say, well, as long as they're not causing harm to others, completely agree with that. What if they don't realize they're causing harm by their snide jokes? It's very, very interesting, and I like that this theme plays out a lot in Community. If you like deep stuff, then fun. That is definitely a reason to watch. However, philosophy and moral qualms aside, if that is not what you're looking for in a show, this show is very silly. It's very, very digestible. Like I mentioned before, Troy and Abed's friendship, it's very like iconic. A lot of people are familiar with a lot of their scenes, and they're kind of what keep a lot of people coming back for more. There's like their Troy and Abed in the morning, the end scenes that are very memorable, Biblioteca rap, but the thing is that they all have their own chemistry. They all get along in different ways. They all have like dynamics that really bring color and life to the show. If you like seeing like a diverse group of people interacting with each other, and if you like seeing different bonds formed, then that's definitely a reason to watch. One last thing I have to say, paintball episode. You'll know what I mean by that if you watch all of season 1. Fantastic thing that they have in the show, but that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about it, because you got to watch to find out. Like I mentioned earlier, I put things up on the board before my thingy went off. I'll talk about them now. We have this picture of her that just says, telling my kids this is Phoebe Bridgers. I love that. This is Abed saying cool, cool, cool. That is a inside joke in the fandom. This has really invaded my vocabulary. I say this without even realizing I'm saying it. Try Abed in the morning, Try Abed being Try Abed. We also got this guy right here. That is Chang. Chang's a great character, and he goes through so many things. I can't even begin to explain his character arc because he's in like I'm speechless trying to describe him, because the things that he does in that show is truly crazy. You want an insane unhinged character? He is the definition of crazy unhinged character. It's a good time for us to relax and have a good laugh if you've seen the show. I like to call this segment Inside Memes. It's for those who have seen the show, but if you've not seen the show, then you're gonna get FOMO. And that's going to make you want to watch the show even more because you don't know what we're laughing about. But it's funny. Just trust that it's funny. Man, this meme is really funny. If you watch the show, you could be laughing right now. Old times. This is wild. This part was wild. You remember this part? Oh yeah, forgot that. Forgot that happened too, man. Good times, good times. Sharks, now the question remains. Do you accept my offer of 5% investment into this show in order to change your life? You'll have to let me know in the comments down below. Have I convinced you to spend at least an hour and a half of your precious time on Earth watching Community? Or have you seen enough Community with this video? Let me know in the comments. If there's any other shows I should make a Showtank about, let me know. That was Showtank. I know this was a little wild, this is a little chaotic, it's a bit of a weird concept to kind of grasp what I'm trying to go for here, but I think it has the potential to be something kind of fun and cool. I really enjoy talking about TV, and if you enjoy TV, and if you'd like to hear my opinions on TV, or if you would want to also talk about your opinions with TV, this would be a good safe space for it. But yeah, Community! You're joking. You are